So he's going to introduce that. We recently had actually at the last meetup one of the companies that went through the accelerator with the bikes. Yes, what was the name again? Mamo. Yes, that's right. Yeah, Mamo. And then the second talk is going to be about Golem, which is one of those of many exciting new Ethereum projects working on a sort of decentralized computation platform. They're also, I think, going to announce at DEF CON, so this is sort of a going public. But first of all, Marta is going to, so we've been coming to this space for a long time, using this beautiful, wonderful event space and bar, etc. So Marta is from Rainmaking Loft, and she's just going to say a few words about Rainmaking Loft for those who don't know yet.
Thank you. Good evening. And I'm Marta, and I'm an intern here in Rainmaking Loft. We are really happy to have you here tonight. I would like to make just a short presentation of the Loft. So we facilitate innovation, and so we do this in two ways. The first one, by offering and having a space like this. We have a great space for events. We have 2,000 meter squares, 15 closed offices, and 2 event spaces. One is this one, and we call this Cathedral. And the second way is that we would like to be like a facilitator. So we connect, collaborate, and co-innovate. And our goal is that we have to put everybody together, angels, startups, and journalists. And we had also the pleasure to have here a lot of events. And so welcome, and I wish you a lovely evening, and thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Dani. I'm from Zurich, as Brian already mentioned. I'm from Nexuslab. Nexuslab is a blockchain-focused company. Our mission is simple. We want to empower European, which is the first keyword. We want to focus on Europe. Blockchain, which is the second keyword. Only blockchain-enabled startups to successfully grow. And for that, we've basically started building an accelerator program, which we did a pilot for, as Brian also said, over the last 6 months. We started in April, we concluded in July. We had 8 startups from Europe coming to Zurich for a presentation. And I'll quickly give you an introduction to that, because we actually start the next program soon, and we start the sign-up process in October. Our background, as I said, we started Nexuslab, which is the parent company. We are also doing other things other than just this accelerator program. We help blockchain startups in any way. So if you need funding, if you need any corporate building exercise, we can help you with that. We have a huge network of mentors and people that work with us internationally. We founded that just a year ago in Zurich. We then announced a partnership with Startup Bootcamp, which is basically a parent company of Rainmaking Loft. So where we are today here in Berlin is basically a partner of us in London. Startup Bootcamp FinTech is our partner in the program. We announced it a year ago in November. We then started, as I said before, the program in April this year with 10 startups from all over Europe. I'll go into the details in a minute. We had the Rabobank as the first corporate partner of the program, so they invested in the program financially. They be partners throughout the program. They basically worked with our startups throughout the program, building their businesses where it makes sense for a bank, obviously, help them build it out. And we concluded the program, the pilot, in July, as I said, on July 7th with the Nexuslab Festival, which is what we call our demo day. We have a special program. If you look at accelerators in Europe or in general in the world, usually you have 3 to 6 months acceleration physically at a given place. Our program is very different. We have a virtual approach to the acceleration program in the sense that 2/3 of the program are decentralized. So we are actually not bringing people to Zurich for 3 months. We have them work from home for the first 2 months and meet them 3 times. I call it a circus. We go around Europe with the startups and meet them in 3 different cities of Europe to sit down over an extended period over a weekend and work with them in these cities. These are all obviously coincidentally cities that Startup Bootcamp is having offices we basically kicked off the program in Amsterdam in April, where we met the startups. Then we went on 3 weeks later to London, and ultimately we were in Berlin. I'll show you a few pictures of that in a minute. And then we chose who can come to Zurich for the last month, which is classic acceleration. So you basically then come to Zurich, you have a month fully dedicated to acceleration. In Zurich, you'll be hosted there by us, and you have a accommodation and an office space accommodated by us. And ultimately with the festival at the end, it's a demo day basically. You stand in front of investors and present your business. Some statistic, we started pitching and we started scouting startups in Europe. We found 275 startups. As I said, only blockchain startups, only in Europe, only early stage, so we didn't go beyond 500,000 of capital. So that's the number we found. We talked to them, we approached them, we pitched our program to them, out of which 55 then ultimately applied for the program, for the pilot. So we had 55 startups from all over Europe that ultimately wanted to be part of this pilot. We then looked through the program applications. We personally interviewed 30 of these 55 and ultimately chose 10 to start with us. And as I said before, we took 8 to Zurich, so that means that we basically selected 2 that couldn't make it to Zurich because they were not progressing in the speed that we expected them to progress. So they were not at the point where they would be able to present in Zurich at the demo day. We unfortunately had to say goodbye to them after 2 months after the virtual phase, and we're still in good contact with them, but they couldn't come to Zurich. And in Zurich we had the 8 finalists, and they basically all presented at the demo day. We have also a huge network of mentors. As I said, that's key to an acceleration program. So if you are part of the program, you have access to more than 70 mentors that are helping you with any sort of issues that you might have, be it financial planning, be it technical details. We have top experts from the blockchain space, technical experts that are mentoring for us. We also have top experts from the financial services industry. I'm personally a banker, so my background is financial services. I'm not technology expert, and I have a lot of people from my background that are part of the network that we have. And throughout the program we made more than 45 workshops with startups that basically help them to develop their business ideas. As I said, we have one real example here with Mamoru. Rihanna is here. She was part of it. We had 8 startups, and I'm not going through each one of them, but they're all on our website. If you're interested, you can read through their business cases. We had throughout Europe applications. We have from Norway to Estonia, Sweden, Italy, Germany, the UK. We also had people from Finland and ultimately one from Switzerland. So we had kind of a nice spread across Europe when it comes to the startups. We had a nice spread across the business industries these startups were in. So not only fintech, as you would expect. We specifically chose a lot of startups outside of the classic Bitcoin payments realm. We wanted to really have a broad selection of startups that are going beyond, and so we had one from the music industry, we had this refugee bank, we had Mamoru with their chip that protects bicycles, for instance, and 2 startups in the space of smart contracts. As I said, we have 70 mentors. These are just the details, some pictures, some visuals. You can see them on the website if you're interested to find out more. The weekends basically they started usually on Thursday. We met the startups on a Thursday. We had a kickoff meeting with them in the city. This is Amsterdam. This was the kickoff weekend. So we started with team building, of course, as we didn't know each other. We had some exercises there. We did then set up introductory schemes into business canvas. Introduction, lean startup, all these classic things. We had meetings, we had guest speakers from Startup Bootcamp, Rabobank, Water Venture, which was our platform that we used for the startups to communicate with each other and among themselves and beyond that with our mentors. We did the same thing then in London. We had a focus topic there on business model canvas, as I said, and we custom exploration topics, but we also obviously always had a lot of fun. We also went out, we had some activities more in a social sphere. And then lastly, the best weekend personally, I think, was Berlin. We were here in Berlin with the last weekend during the virtual phase. We were lucky to be at the Deloitte greenhouse for that 3 days. It was great experience. We had fun there. We had a lot of actual exposure to startups in Berlin, including FinLeap and Number 26. We had the CTO of Number 26 presenting to our startups how a business actually runs once it's a bit more further developed than just early stage. And then we took them to Zurich. As I said before, the 8 startups that came to Zurich then went through an extensive and detailed pitch training, basically. That's been the focus in Zurich, that we get the startups to stand in front of an audience and talk to the audience in a secure and in a confident way, so that they actually ultimately are able to stand in front of investors, which was the end goal for the demo day. And we had also obviously a lot of other topics that we actually went through with the startups. Then we had the festival day, as I said, on July 7th. This was the 8 startups pitching. We had Fabian from Berlin here at our conference in Zurich, and he presented the DAO Heist. We had people from Amsterdam. We had other keynote speakers. We had 180 guests, including a lot of journalists, and we had a nice spread in one of the biggest newspapers in Switzerland on 4 pages about this thing. We had guests from all over the world, and it was really fun, and it was really good. And basically, it proved to us that our approach to startup acceleration works. It works in the sense that it's a focused approach. So we only have startups in the blockchain space, which is important, I think. It's a different thing to have a Bitcoin startup to a classic, say, Number 26 bank, for instance. And so it makes a lot of sense, the technology focus for us to keep that going, and that's important. We have actually decided together with Startup Bootcamp that we continue the way we started. So we're gonna have another program the way we did it. So for all of you who are entrepreneurs, who are looking for support in acceleration space, this is the announcement that we will start another application phase in October. By end of the year, we'll actually have the selection process going, and by January, end of January, we'll set up the next program. The next program will not necessarily be in the 3 cities that you have seen. It also not necessarily will be in Zurich for the last months. That these are all things that can change, because we basically have the luxury of adjusting the program to the best cities. And in my case, for my personal view, Berlin is the best place to come with a startup. So it might as well be that we have the last months in Berlin for the next program. We will do 2 programs next year, and the goal is to do 2 programs every year. So that's another thing. We might rotate all these things around. And I would like to invite you, if you're interested, to apply. And so if you want to follow me, I can be found on LinkedIn. I can be found obviously by email. On our website, nexussquare.co, you find all the details for the program. You can find the announcement of the application phase. And I would like to see as many possible startups from Berlin as well in our program for the next one. And that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yep.
Yeah, so you're having this blockchain Europe accelerator. What's your experience with blockchain prior your accelerator, as well as what's your stand on Europe, as you're not even part of the economic area?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think what we have in Switzerland is the crypto valley. That's basically, if you want to go back to why I'm doing this, what I'm doing. I was in financial services for 20 years, as I said. So I was a banker, I was studying banking, I was a trader in foreign exchange. So my background is essentially classic banking. I was then deciding that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to get out of banking, and I started to look around what I could do. I knew I wanted to do something in the acceleration space. I wanted to give back something, what I learned over the years, to young people in their startups. And so we went to California in 2015, and we did a tour of inspiration, if you want, at a startup conference in San Francisco and then in Silicon Valley. And it was obvious that blockchain was the next big thing, and so we were inspired. We read some book, we met a lot of people, and that's how we got there. So I'm not claiming I'm an expert on the technology at all. I'm not also claiming that I've been there since 2011 with Bitcoin. That's all not true. I basically have a philosophy that is basically, it's about giving back some of my business experience to people that want to build a business. That's as simple as that. When it comes to Switzerland, why we do this in Switzerland is 2 things. One, I'm from Switzerland, I'm Swiss, and there's, I think, beyond political reasons and the EU or not the EU, we have the crypto valley in Zug. We have very good reputation for our data protection laws in Switzerland. There's a reason why some of the startups that you might know have chosen Switzerland as their place for their cooperation. That's to do with these laws. That's to do with our business-friendly economy. We have the 8th best university in the technical sphere in Zurich as well, with the ETH there. So there's a lot of reasons why you can do this in Switzerland, even if you're not in the EU. I think that's the long answer to a short question. Well, we have to focus on something, you know. You cannot do global. We could not. Our program is also, the reason why we do it virtual has got several aspects. One is a cost question as well. So we cannot fly in startups from California or from Asia to our program for weekends. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, but it's a question of the time zone as well. And then, I mean, coming to Europe for 2 days or 3 days doesn't really make sense. If you're from 12 hour, if you're from, we would love to do it globally, but of course, but we have limited capacity when it comes to financial support. Yep.
Based on your experience, what are the most common mistakes that startups make so that you have to say goodbye to them? I mean, it's obvious that if they don't work on rapid pace, then it's not acceptable for you, as I understood from your speech. But are there any cases that startups are going in some direction that you don't accept, don't see as successful?
Well, the biggest problem with startups is if they are resistant to advice, be it from mentors or be it from the program that we basically offer. Ultimately, there's a reason why startups are startups, because they are young and they are unexperienced, they have ideas and visions that are lacking with a lot of experienced people like me. On the other hand, obviously, there's a lot of naivety when it comes to business, real business, how a business runs, how a business should be set up. Financial planning are basically the most boring topics you can imagine, but they are important as well, because you're running out of money if you don't actually do this properly, if you don't have endless streams of money. And so I think it's a question of cooperation between the young startup people with their visions, being able to fulfill their dreams, and on the other hand, actually taking the advice that mentors are giving them. That's why the program is the program. That's why we do what we are doing, actually. Yes, we actually, as I said, we don't, and we are not so rigid. Basically, minimum condition is the founder needs to be 100% dedicated to the project, so he cannot have a job and do this in the evenings or on the weekend if it's a startup. So if you're registered and you don't have more than 500,000 in funding already, then you can apply. As a single founder, we would like to see teams usually, so we consider also single founders with a team in the background that is not fully dedicated. So we are a little bit flexible. What we don't take is, we don't take stakes. That's dedicated decisions. You might want to know our business model. So basically what we do, we support the startups financially in the sense that we invite them to these weekends. Everything is paid for, the accommodation and the trips and everything. The same in Zurich, so you get an accommodation, you get, as I say, a space there to work. We don't give you any seed funding, so that's not part of the program. We don't give cash injections in your companies, but we also don't take any stakes. The deal is going forward. For the pilot, this wasn't the case, but for going forward, we will basically get a cut of investments that we get you as a program at the end of the program and 12 months after that. So that's how we finance the whole thing for us. Yes. Or share? No, cash.
How much?
3%. Yeah.
What are typical businesses that would approach you?
Typical businesses. As I say, I mean, ultimately, if you look at the statistics of the applications that we had, I think from the 275, 60% were still fintech, so Bitcoin exchanges, Bitcoin wallets, all these classic payment services around Bitcoin. So that's still the majority. But we had also 3 or 4, and 2 of which came to the program, startups in the space of music, music sharing of how do you say, IP and artistic rights sharing, platform trading, some things. Then we had a couple of them in the smart contract space with one of them from Estonia being very successful at the moment. It's called Proof of You. They do basically smart contracts, both deliberately physically, so they basically help law firms going forward to more effectively develop contracts, and then ultimately bring them to the blockchain as a smart contract on the blockchain. So that's also been pretty regularly. We've seen that so in the law side. And what else do we have? Mamoru with the supply chain and protecting supply chain and ownership. So that's classic use case as well. Well, these were probably the ones that we've seen the most. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about why you think that focusing on the technology with your accelerator is better than focusing on a sector? Because startup bootcamp actually does both, right? So
Yep.
VR IoT versus smart city printing.
The way we did this is exactly, we discussed it with Startup Bootcamp. They did have a program in London with one blockchain startup called Tradle, and then the rest were not blockchain related. And so I think the experience for them was that the blockchain topic is so special in many ways from a technology perspective, from a philosophical perspective, that they were kind of not quite so integrated. And if you focus it on the topic of the technology, because it's so new, it's so revolutionary, there's so many aspects to it that are not relevant if you build an app for insurance policies or something like this, that it makes sense to group these people together and help them also come together as a team of experts when it comes to the technology. We then discussed it with some startups and particularly one in California that is also working as a very successful startup in the blockchain space, and they had this decentralized approach. So they basically have the CEO in San Francisco, the CTO is in Canada, and the third founder is in San Diego, and that's basically how we got to the point where we said, okay, actually young people in the startup space, in the blockchain space, actually don't really work together anymore physically anyway, so we might as well do the program decentralized as per the paradigm of blockchain. And so that's how all these different things came. That's why we did the way we did. I mean, we kind of found out that this is a way of working in this space. Yeah. No, we are agnostic to that question actually. So long. Yeah, but as I said, we had really early stage projects as well, and I thought Balas should be here from Takano Bank, who was also part of our program. He's also now relocated to Berlin with this project, and so it's not been the case that people came in necessarily. Some did, some had Ethereum on their thing, and that's what they wanted to do. But others really just kind of started to evaluate what blockchain would make the most sense for them. And so I mean, no, ultimately, we are at a very early stage for all of this. Obviously, the Bitcoin side is given. There's Bitcoin wallets and all these things are done, but everything else is just so early. I mean, it's everything can still develop, and so we just actually look at it more from a philosophical perspective rather than the technology itself. Okay, thank you very much. If anybody wants to find out more, I'm around, so we can discuss afterwards. Or, as I said, just go to our website and apply as soon as we are opening it up in October. And it would be great to have many more startups from here. And we definitely will be back with our program in Berlin, and we can probably come to a meetup next time. Thank you.
All right.
Hello. Hello. I'm Julian Zawistowski. I'm CEO of Meetup, a company behind the Golem project, the project I'm going to talk about today. So we spent last year working hard on this project. We released first alpha version only 2 weeks ago. So we have working tested now. You can see the code for yourself. You can test our approach. And well, I will try to convince you now that this is worth trying and worth looking into that project to see what we are up to. So let's start with the problem, which should be the approach of every technology you build. So what the problem we are trying to solve? Well, I have four statements here. You cannot agree with them, but there are links to the sources you can check afterwards. I will share this link to this presentation on Twitter, so you will see the sources and decide for yourself if you agree with me or not. But the first statement is that Moore's law is dead or is close to be dead. Of course, we have many things that will help us in the future, but this is the statement that is quite often occurring in the discussions on the future of computing. Then cloud computing is not free market at all. Maybe it's not a monopolistic market, but for sure it is a oligopoly. So very concentrated market with a few dominant companies controlling majority of a computing power you can use. Then, well, in-house infrastructure is a risky path. And of course, that depends on the scale, that depends on the uses. I'm pretty sure that many universities will have a vast in-house infrastructure for a long time. But overall, there is a tendency, both for business and actually partly also for science, to outsource their hardware needs when it comes to really demanding computing. And the fourth statement is that if the centralized web is going to happen, maybe I will not elaborate more on the term. I assume that as we are on a blockchain meetup, you should be quite familiar with the concept behind there. So the centralized web, if it is going to happen, we'll need a kind of computing component as well. So like you can see Ethereum or as a kind of execution layer or the smart contract layer. You can see project like IPFS as a storage layer or even file transfer layer, and you have to have also this computing layer if it is needed for a project. So what we are proposing to solve this problem, we are proposing a market for computing power, basically. So, and how is it going to happen? We want to make happen a very simple and very straightforward concept, in fact. So we propose to use computers around us, any computer that you possess, that you don't use most of the time or only use a slight percentage of its computing power. So we propose to to be able to place this computer time on market to other users who will be able to rent this time from you to do their jobs on your machine. Of course, that should work not only on regular machines, but on a specialized professional hardware as well. But let's try to connect all those computers in a single network that will be able to accept any tasks. In fact, similar attempts happened in the past, and they are happening all the time. You may have heard about SETI at Home project, for example, which eventually evolved into Boeing project. So this is pretty similar idea, and in fact Boeing is a proof that this really can work. So that you can connect thousands of computers to collectively do some computing. What's the problem with Boeing? Why we need something different than Boeing? Well, Boeing is for free, obviously. So you just decide to contribute your computer on the basis of, I don't know, your beliefs, of the coolness of the project you devote your time to, your belief that this is going to contribute to human progress. So in fact, this is very limited, because ultimately this is the end user, the owner of the machine, who decides what the machine does. If you want to search for aliens, but you don't want to fold the proteins, then we will be looking for aliens, but we will not have any proteins folded. End of the story. So, and what we propose is the market. So, in fact, then you don't have coolness or karma for spending your computer's time and paying your electricity bill. You just earn some amount of money for renting the machine. And you don't actually have any influence on what's happening on the machine because you rent it. So in short, this can be called Airbnb for computers. And consequently, that will result in a first prosumer market for computing power, the complete information market, which is quite important. I will refer to that later on, and also that would be one of the first general use cases of Ethereum. Maybe this is a good time to tell you why actually I'm here, because what I have described so far has nothing to do with blockchain at all. So you can just connect computers. That is peer-to-peer network by design, what we are planning, but this is not yet blockchain. So in fact, we were in Ethereum project from almost very beginning, from February 2014, and once we started working on Ethereum, we realized that this system, that Ethereum makes this idea possible, because the single biggest technological challenge here is to transmit value automatically between the computers. So those tasks are often very small. To make it work, you often have to divide one task between like 10,000 nodes, for example. So you have to have a system that will deal with the transactions in an efficient, decentralized way, and of course you could use credit cards to do that, but then your transaction cost would be like 5 times higher than actual value of transactions, because there's a lot of tiny transactions. So you need to develop a system to deal with the transactions, and that can be done using blockchain technology, specifically Ethereum smart contracts. So how is it going to work? Well, basic concept is that you have a task, a requester who provides the task, sends the task description, sends task descriptions to the number of nodes. We call those nodes providers, because they provide their computers. They compute something and they send back results. Overall, this is organized as a peer-to-peer network with no central points, not single point of failure. And of course, everything is driven by a single application on a user machine. And well, as a system, this is built by this application on user machine, with a virtual machine where the task is actually computed. But this is not necessarily actually virtual machine. For now, we use Dockerized environments, and Docker guys don't like to call Docker virtual machine. So this is virtual machine or Docker container. Then you have Ethereum as a transaction layer, and well, and that all constitutes Golem network, which we proudly call worldwide supercomputer, like 20 nodes at the moment. This is our supercomputer now on the testnet, but we're growing bigger. So, okay, maybe I'll now try to convince you that this is actually worth all we are doing. So we decided that we need a first business case, because this system is going to work only if we will have users who will fuel the system with the money. So we can connect all the computers in the world together to complete projects we cannot even imagine. But if there is no one to pay for the computing, this is not going to work at all. So we decided that we have to start with something which could make a potentially interesting business case. And this is, of course, business case for providers, in fact. And we decided to start with computer graphic imaginary rendering. This is very demanding task to render even a single frame in high definition. If any one of you had to do anything with that, you probably know that. If not, you have to take more work on that. That this is demanding, and actually this is still happening mostly on CPU, sometimes on GPU as well. But the business standard is still CPU. And this is very hard to estimate the size of the market. We did our best to estimate the market of rendering farms. And the result was something around $200 million per year of a turnover of those rendering farms. Of course, you have to remember that many render farms work as a front end on a big provider's cloud solutions. So you have a nice named and nice branded rendering farm, but behind is Amazon Web Services anyway. Yeah. What can be our advantage? So if you have a very powerful cloud with the computers that are in a single location, this is going to work great. So the best we can do here is to compete with price. And we estimate that the price we can achieve is really competitive, and I can elaborate on that in a moment, because this is important topic. But also the third part of the story is that you need to integrate, of course, proprietary software into this solution. This is very important topic, because in this business most of the software used is proprietary. And in fact, that creates, in our opinion, another opportunity. So if you combine Golem with proprietary software integrated, that can be interesting for all parties involved. So what is the competition for this discussed use case? Of course, artists can use in-house hardware in case of, and that often happens actually, especially if artist or content creator believes that this is so sensitive that cannot be let outside. This is why, for example, I don't know, Disney renders its animations in a closed data centers, or even builds special infrastructure to do the job, because they don't want any leak where someone will be able to see how the next masterpiece heroes will look like before time's right.
Well, rendering farms, of course, is a very important competitor, and they can be, as I said, based more on in-house hardware and cloud infrastructure. But this is interesting that in fact both of the solutions are not competitive because of price or because of in fact inefficiency. So, for example, you can get your job done on the rendering farm for a really low price, like coming down to electricity cost, but this is going to take ages, probably comparable to what would take on your machine. So the basic advantage we see is that in fact, if this is a shared infrastructure, then the cost is in fact equal to marginal cost, so this is equal to electricity cost. And according to the benchmarks we run, that means that Golem could be like 10 times cheaper than what we have on the market at the moment. Of course, this is not what is going to happen, because eventually people will not accept running Golem only to pay the electricity bill, which is higher because they are running Golem. So that wouldn't make any sense, but still there is a like huge area to come in on the market. Okay, maybe I will just skip that because I don't want to talk only about the business. I don't want to bore you with numbers anymore. Here you can see the screenshot of alpha version. So if you decide to actually see Golem for yourself, download the alpha version, install it, and you will, for example, render one of the sample images. That's something you're going to see. So this is how it looks for rendering. Still, of course, what we are aiming at in the medium term is much more than the rendering farm. So rendering is good because it is well defined. It is simple to implement, and this is very good use case. But we have a lot of plans for the future. I'm not going to describe that in details. We have a huge blog post about that, so you can read it if you're really interested. But of course, in any case, in almost any situation when it comes to mathematical modeling, and it can be distributed, and in most of the cases it can be distributed. In some of the cases it cannot be distributed, but in most of the cases it can be distributed. Then there is a use of Golem. That comes down to many scientific and engineering problems, that goes down to financial markets. Actually, there is already a financial market network running on a similar principle to Golem, running on a language which is called MQL5, I believe, and this is used for running trading bots. So this is like living proof that this is feasible. Machine learning is a great example for Golem, and many more. So, and this is for now really exciting, because once we open the repository and start communicating about the project during the last 2 months, we are having more and more people coming to us with the wonderful ideas how the Golem could be used in the future, and what I call here medium-term goal is quite close. And then, well, the long-term goal is a little bit far-reached at the moment. That's why this slide is very short, because I want to show you a grand idea, but I don't have too many specific details on how we're going to get there. But of course, ultimately, that would be really great if we could use this type of network, maybe not necessarily Golem network, but this type of network, not only for distributed, well-defined tasks, but also for something we call services. So that you do not rent computer to perform certain computation, but you rent computer to perform certain tasks, like running a daemon and reacting to whatever happens, hosting a web page or part of the web page, or be one of the co-hosting computers, and many more. That in fact comes with many other projects that are occurring now in a Ethereum ecosystem, and those projects like BAB, for example, like IPFS, are not strictly blockchain projects, but are based on similar principles and can use those technologies, like that can be cross use of those technologies. So, well, yes, this is just to see for yourself if you're interested, and you will be able to navigate this presentation further. There are resources. I especially recommend you our blog and Slack, where you can read what we think or ask us any question. And in fact, I think that's it when it comes to very brief introduction to the projects. And of course, I will be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, I don't know who was first, so maybe we'll just like go this way.
Okay, so
hello. I'm sorry if my question is a bit long, but a few problems came to my mind as I was listening to your very interesting presentation. So at first, as you mentioned in the very beginning, so the Moore's law is dead. And correct me if I'm wrong, but nowadays the main goal is to parallelize computation. The parallelism is the source of more computing power, and memory access, speed of memory access is more important than computing cycles. So as I understand, personal computers and smartphones have plenty of memory cycles, but computing cycles, but memory access and parallelization are more limited resource. So how efficient can this system be if the majority of providers are just personal computers or smartphones, which are not so parallelizable as, for example, supercomputers that have up to hundreds of thousands of processors? So this is the first part of my question. And by the way, the bandwidth, the data transfer can also not be so cheap. So this is the first part. And the second part, so if we compare two systems, distributed systems where computers in a distributed network perform computations. So as you mentioned, the SETI at home, there is no incentive to cheat there because the users get no actual money. They only gain reputation and they can't spend it. So it's no reason to cheat. In Bitcoin, on the other hand, the users get monetary reward, but it is very easy to verify the result. So to compare the hash with the target, so in 2 nanoseconds, you get the result. So if we extend this to general purpose computation, how can we be sure that, for example, if I'm a provider and you give me a task to render a part of the picture, how can you be sure that I just do not output junk that I generated in the second, and you gave me the reward, which is basically money? So what prevents me from cheating?
Fortunately, the second question is quite obvious. So we are asking ourselves that since 2014, and I hope we have an answer. So you of course need a verification system. And this is, by the way, this is not true that people don't cheat in Boeing. Boeing has a verification system based on redundancy. So every task in Boeing is computed by 3 nodes, and is accepted only if the result is identical for all 3 nodes. So this is a really vast verification system, which is unfortunately possible only if you have free computation, because it doesn't make to compute everything 3 times if you want to compete with price, for example. So our idea is that this actually should be case specific. So for every single use case, you have to propose a verification mechanism. Sometimes it is trivial if what you do is for example cryptocurrency mining, so looking for hashes. This is trivial to verify if the result is right. With rendering, actually, this is really non-trivial. So this is interesting example. And what we do is first we allow some redundancy, but you don't need actually to compute the picture 3 times to be sure that this is right. It is in fact, if you attack the problem statistically, it turns out that this is enough to have like 5% redundancy, that you render again some small parts of the pictures here and there, and just compare if this is the same with the picture you want to verify. And this 5% can be done locally, or you can just add this redundancy to your task. And of course, probably you will not find every node which is trying to cheat at the first time, but you will eliminate any node pretty sure through the reputation system, because that's the second feature which is connected with that. You will not see a reputation system yet, complete reputation system yet in the alpha version, but what is planned and researched is a reputation system based on gossip protocol. At the moment, it is going to be off-chain. In the future, it might be integrated with the Ethereum-based reputation system, because as you...
What is the cost of breaking new account and starting the reputation from zero once again? Like simple attack, I can register as many accounts as I want.
Yes, so there is a cost to connect to the network. At the moment, it is just generating your ID, which is a bit time-consuming. So, like, maybe it's not very time-consuming, but you have to generate that, and it is not that simple to like set up discretionally arbitrary large number of nodes. In the future, we are thinking about some deposit-based solutions, but this is still to be researched in details. But we have some general framework. Sorry, I have to answer the first question as well. So I'll try to make it short. I don't claim that this will be a good design for anything you can imagine. In fact, there are some prerequisites for this to work. So, and the very important one is that the time of computing has to be quite significant compared to the time of transfer. So if you want to like download 1 terabyte of data to run a quite simple computation on that, this is not worth this system. But in many cases, this is exactly opposite. So the data is minimal, and the time of computing is quite high.
The video rendering just the example of a task where we have to transfer a large amount of data.
Well, we have, but this is not that large. For example, especially if you are talking about animation, and in fact animation is a little bit more interesting use case than a still image, then if there is like a couple of seconds of animations that sums up to several hundreds of frames, and resources are the same for all the frames. And if you apply a peer-to-peer transfer protocols, then it turns out that the propagation of the resources in the network is quite fast compared to the computing time. Yes?
So first of all, I want to separate that. I acknowledge that you're pushing the boundary in the new technology, so that's my question. Doesn't want to attack that, but I had a question relating the pricing. So who puts the pricing on a specific computation? I imagine it's the one putting it out. And if that is the case, how do you make sure that there's not like arbitrage from someone running it actually on the cloud and then only doing those jobs that are beneficial to him, like his costs to Amazon are less than
So, well, this is actually to be tested in a real market setup. But I suspect, I think that at least at the beginning, this will be a buyer's market. So there will have quite a lot of people, I don't know, power gamers, maybe data centers, idle data centers, and others who will like be running Golem in a spare time, and not necessarily a lot of early adapters. So at the moment, this is in fact done in a way that you have this is going to work like a stock exchange, in fact, like a table of offers. But at the moment, it is done in a way that there is a table of offers of sellers, and the buyer decides, has an algorithm that decides which offer to select, and this is a seller price always. So you only, if you as a buyer, you decide that you are not accepting prices higher than something, then of course that means that you roll out part of the market. And of course this is a little bit more complicated because there is also a benchmarking. So for every environment which is created, a provider has to run a benchmark, and like this is some indication of how good this particular node is in this class of task. Because of course sometimes you need a lot of RAM, sometimes you need a lot of CPU, so that cannot be one benchmark for everything. This has to be a benchmark on every use case.
Is there like a recourse mechanism on that benchmark? Like if you claim a certain benchmark and then you do not live up to that benchmark in the actual task, is there a mechanism?
Not yet. But the plan is that this will be reflected in a reputation system. So if you perform worse than the other nodes with the similar benchmark, then you have lower reputation. But actually, this particular question is something we need a larger test net to work on. So we are working towards larger test net now, and we will be like testing ideas we have with that. Because like not every, for example, not every splitting mechanism is efficient if you have only 20 nodes in the network. Yes.
How hard-coded the rendering is right now? Is it possible to include your own computation and verification mechanisms, or is it just purely rendering?
This is like hard-coded. So we have hard-coded Blender and Lux renderer, basically because they are open source. So we could do that without entering any negotiations with the owners of proprietary software. In the future, I think that this is a matter of a year, maybe a year and a half. We are planning to release API and task definition framework. So everyone will be able to integrate with, well, every developer will be able to integrate with Golem, which is like the goal ultimately, because we don't see our role in fact as hard coding every possible use case to the end of the world. We rather want to provide other users with tools to integrate with Golem. But of course, we have to prove that this is feasible and this is going to work. So we decided to hard code it, some of it by ourselves.
Thank you very much. It's a really exciting project, and thank you for sharing today. So my name is TJ, and wanted to ask, so what is the plan to capture value, or what is your business model over the long term? That's the first question. And obviously you allude to bronze golem. So what's the iron golem and what's a gold golem? You put it like a bronze golem as the rendering. Yeah, so there'll be iron golem. And so what's the plan, you know?
Okay, so what's the value proposition? This is actually a very, very good question, because we see that as an open source project and as an open network. I could use a big words for that, like saying that internet now is a bit damaged, not up to the expectations, and we hope in the future for the decentralized web to make that truly decentralized. So, and if it it is to be truly decentralized, that we want to be peer-to-peer and open source and so on. Of course, we have to finance further developments somehow, and we are planning a crowd sale for that. I don't want to advertise crowd sale now. If someone is interested, then all the information is on our webpage, and in fact, we haven't figured out all the details yet. But one of the possibilities we are exploring is just a fee imposed on the transactions for development and further upkeep of the network, which is like quite obvious. So this is exactly the business model of Airbnb I referred to before. And well, Brass Golem, yes. So actually, Brass Golem was to be called Flash Golem, but native speakers told us that sounds awful. So we renamed that to Brass Golem. So the next in a row are Clay Golem, Stone Golem, and Iron Golem. And then perhaps a cloud golem, so the one that has at least some features of the cloud environment. Yeah. We are planning to release a more detailed roadmap within a month. Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay, with that, that's it. Thanks so much for coming. There's a bar just over there, and if people can help just putting some chairs up there or there in the corner, that would be great. And well, thanks so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month.